Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that changed the game for me. Every morning when I wake up, I make it a habit to speak to myself before the world tries to speak to me. Because if you don't set the tone for your own life, somebody else will set it for you. I ain't talking about checking your phone or scrolling through the noise. I'm talking about powerful, intentional, life-changing words. Words that will push you, remind you, and redirect you. What you tell yourself when the sun rises, that right there can be the difference between surviving and thriving. The first words you speak in the morning shape your entire mindset for the day. What you say to yourself when you first wake up has the power to create your emotional, mental, and spiritual state before anything else touches your day. That first conversation you have each morning isn't with your spouse, your boss, your children, or your friends. It's with yourself. It's in that quiet moment before the world gets loud. And in that space, the words you speak can either give you strength or strip it away. It's not about pretending life is perfect. It's about commanding your mind to focus on possibility, gratitude, and intention. Because if you don't plant seeds of purpose in the morning, weeds of doubt will grow on their own. You can't expect a powerful day if your first words are complaints. You can't walk with confidence if your first thoughts are fear. You can't lead with strength if your first focus is everything going wrong. That's why starting your day intentionally is so important. The words you choose shape your attitude, and your attitude shapes your actions. Think about it like this. If you wake up and say, I'm tired, I don't feel like doing anything today, that becomes your lens. Everything you see that day will pass through the filter of fatigue and discouragement. But if you wake up and say, I'm grateful for another chance to grow, I've got the strength to face whatever's ahead, then you've just set yourself on a whole different track. You've told your mind how to show up and your body will follow. We often underestimate the power of our internal dialogue, but it creates our experience. You can't talk defeat and expect victory. You can't speak weakness and expect strength. If you want a better life, you've got to start by speaking a better language to yourself every single morning. Our words are like seeds. What you say in the morning gets planted into your subconscious, and your day becomes the harvest. If you plant fear, you get hesitation. If you plant gratitude, you get joy. If you plant strength, you get resilience. The difference between someone who rises and someone who stays stuck often begins with what they say before they even leave the bed. This isn't about motivation for motivation's sake. This is about discipline. The discipline of training your mind to follow your intention, not your mood. Because moods are temporary, but your purpose is permanent. So even on the days you don't feel like it, you speak it anyway. Even on the days it's hard, you speak life, speak faith, speak power. Because your feelings will follow your focus, and your focus begins with your words. Most people spend their mornings reacting. They check messages, get on social media, read the news, and let external voices shape their thoughts. But the people who lead their lives with strength and clarity do something different. They speak first. They speak over their day before the day speaks back. They don't wait for confidence, they declare it. They don't wait for peace, they speak it. They don't wait for direction, they speak purpose into their own path. That's the kind of mindset that changes lives. That's how people rise when others are stuck. That's how champions are built. Not just through talent or luck, but through habits. And one of the most powerful habits is choosing your first words carefully. Your first words are like the ignition to your internal engine. If you want to move forward, you have to fuel up right. What you say to yourself in the morning determines how you show up, how you respond to problems, how you interact with others, and how you handle opportunities. It's not magic, it's mindset. and mindset starts with your mouth. Positive affirmations are powerful tools to build self-belief and momentum. Every single day you wake up with the opportunity to either doubt yourself or believe in your own potential. And the words you speak to yourself make all the difference. Affirmations aren't just cute sayings or feel-good quotes. They're declarations of identity, strength, and purpose. When you tell yourself something consistently, your subconscious mind begins to accept it as true. And once your mind believes it, your actions start to follow. People often wait for outside validation to feel worthy, waiting for someone else to approve, encourage, or recognize them. But the truth is, the most important voice you will ever hear is your own. What you say about yourself matters more than what anyone else says about you because it is constant, personal, and internal. When you affirm your own worth, your mind and spirit begin to align with your words, and that creates momentum. Momentum doesn't always come from massive victories. Most times it begins in the small things, the little wins, the tiny shifts in how you think and speak. When you get up and say, I am worthy, I am strong, I am capable, even if part of you doesn't fully believe it yet, you are planting seeds, and those seeds will grow over time if you keep watering them with consistency. You don't need to feel 100% confident to begin. You just need to choose words to reflect who you want to become. If you speak defeat, your energy will follow. If you speak victory, your actions will rise. Positive affirmations aren't about denying challenges. They're about choosing to focus. Every day brings problems, stress, and resistance, but if your inner voice is trained to speak possibility, you'll find yourself moving through the tough moments with more grace and less fear. Life is already hard enough. Don't let your own words become an extra burden. Affirmations allow you to become your own source of power. You can't always control what happens around you, but you can control what you declare over yourself. Say, I am becoming better every day. Say, I was made for more. Say, I have what it takes to handle today. Because what you repeat becomes your belief, and what you believe becomes your behavior. If you want to change your life, you have to change your language. If you want to change your mood, you have to shift your mindset. Start in the morning before the world speaks to you. Look in the mirror and say what you need to hear. Say what you wish someone else would have told you. Speak healing, speak strength, speak direction. Because the moment you start building yourself with your own words, you stop waiting on someone else to do it for you. The key to positive affirmations is not perfection, it's repetition. You don't need to say the perfect words in a perfect way. You just need to be honest, intentional, and consistent. Some days you might say it with fire, and some days you might say it through tears, but say it anyway. Don't underestimate the power of a small sentence spoken in the quiet of the morning. I am proud of how far I've come. I forgive myself for yesterday. Today is another chance to grow. These are not just words. They are anchors. When the storm comes, and it will, these declarations keep you grounded. They remind you of who you are and who you're becoming. They pull you out of anxiety and back into alignment. And that's how momentum begins. Not in the noise of big achievements, but in the quiet discipline of speaking life into your day before it begins. What you repeatedly tell yourself becomes what you believe about yourself. The story you hear most often is the one that sticks, and the most powerful story you will ever hear is the one you tell yourself every single day. People underestimate the impact of inner dialogue. They think it's just thoughts floating around or random words in the mind. But the truth is, those words are shaping your confidence, your decisions, and your destiny. You can have all the talent in the world, all the resources, and all the support, but if the voice inside your head is filled with doubt, fear, and negativity, you will hold yourself back before anyone else ever can. Belief starts with repetition. Whatever you repeat becomes rooted in your subconscious. And once it takes root, it becomes your reality. Not because it's always true, but because you believe it is. That belief drives your behavior, influences your choices, and shapes your future. We are creatures of habit, not only in action, but also in thought. If you constantly tell yourself you're not good enough, not qualified, or not ready, you'll start to filter the world through that lens. Every opportunity will look like a threat. Every compliment will feel like a lie. Every challenge will feel like proof that you're not capable. But on the flip side, if you train yourself to say, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm worthy, even if you don't feel it yet, that repetition begins to rewire the way you think. And when your thinking shifts, everything else follows. Success is less about talent and more about belief. Belief in your ability to rise, to grow, to bounce back, to figure things out when it gets hard. That belief doesn't happen by accident. It happens through conscious, repeated self-talk that builds up your inner foundation until it becomes unshakable. Too many people spend their lives repeating the wrong message. They echo the voice of critics, past failures, painful memories, and mistakes. They replay negative moments like broken records, not realizing that those repetitions are turning into their truth. But you have the power to change the narrative. You don't have to keep telling yourself the same limiting story. You can interrupt the cycle. You can start speaking a new message, one built on growth, healing, and progress. That's how belief is built, not by one big inspirational moment, but by small daily declarations. You get to choose what you repeat. You get to decide which thoughts get reinforced. And when you take control of that, you take control of your belief system. Self-belief isn't about arrogance or pretending to have it all together. It's about trusting your ability to grow into who you were meant to be. It's about recognizing that your past doesn't define your potential and that your failures don't disqualify your future. And it all begins with repetition, with speaking better words to yourself than the world ever offered, with choosing to affirm your value, your strength, and your purpose even when no one else does. Every time you say something encouraging to yourself, it's like laying another brick in the foundation of your confidence. One brick won't build the house, but brick by brick, day by day, you create something solid, something strong, something lasting. When you understand that your inner voice is building your belief, you become more careful with what you say. You stop letting temporary emotions write permanent scripts. You stop letting old wounds define new seasons. And you start being intentional about what you plant in your mind every day. Because the person you believe yourself to be will always influence how you act, how you react, and how far you're willing to go. If you want to live a bigger life, start by telling yourself a bigger story. Repeat it until you believe it, and believe it until you live it. Starting your day with purpose redirects your focus from problems to progress. The moment you wake up, your mind begins searching for something to latch on to, a direction, a thought, a priority. If you don't give it something intentional, it will default to whatever is loudest, and most of the time, that's stress, worry, or distractions. That's why setting your purpose first thing in the morning is one of the most important habits you can build. It's not just about being motivated, it's about being centered. Life throws so much at you the moment you open your eyes. Messages, responsibilities, news, demands. And if you don't start your day anchored in something bigger than your problems, you'll get swept up in the current of chaos. Purpose brings clarity. When you have clarity, you make better choices. When you know your why, the how, and the what start to make sense. You stop moving out of reaction and you start moving with intention. Most people wake up already feeling behind. They think about what they didn't finish yesterday, what they're afraid of today, or what might go wrong tomorrow. That mindset drains energy before the day even begins. But when you start with purpose, you create a new lens through which to view everything. Your problems don't disappear, but your perspective shifts. You begin to see challenges as opportunities, setbacks as lessons, and routines as part of a bigger mission. Your day becomes more than just tasks to check off. It becomes part of your personal growth, your journey toward a life you want. Purpose gives meaning to the mundane. It turns even the smallest action into a step forward. It reminds you that your life is not just about surviving, it's about becoming. Waking up with purpose means reminding yourself who you are and what you're here to do. It's telling yourself today matters. My time has value. I'm responsible for how I show up. That kind of mindset changes the way you enter every room. It changes the way you handle pressure, deal with people, and respond to problems. Purpose helps you prioritize. When your day has meaning, you're not as easily distracted by comparison, doubt, or drama. You focus on what aligns with your values and goals, not just what feels urgent in the moment. That's the power of starting your day with a clear internal compass. You're no longer just reacting to life, you're steering it. This kind of morning mindset doesn't require hours of planning or some grand vision. It can be as simple as taking a few minutes to ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be today? What impact do I want to make? What energy do I want to bring? When you answer those questions first thing in the morning, you're setting your internal thermostat. And just like a thermostat controls the temperature of a room, your internal settings influence the environment you create around you. You start speaking differently, working differently, walking differently. You're no longer letting life decide for you. You're choosing your path with every step. Purpose also gives you endurance. On days when things go wrong, and they will, it's your sense of purpose that keeps you grounded. When you're tired, stressed, or discouraged, knowing your why gives you the strength to keep moving. You stop chasing quick fixes and start building something lasting. You learn how to push past the urge to quit because you're not living aimlessly, you're moving with meaning. That's why the morning matters so much. That first moment of the day is a golden opportunity to take control of your focus. It's your chance to declare before anything else happens that you are living on purpose, not by accident. The more you do this, the more it becomes a habit. The more it becomes a habit, the more consistent your growth becomes. And over time, that consistency becomes transformation. Self-talk influences how you respond to challenges, failures, and opportunities. The way you speak to yourself in difficult moments often determines how long you stay down or how quickly you get back up. Everyone faces setbacks. Everyone hears the voice of doubt at some point. But what separates people who keep growing from those who give up is how they speak to themselves when it gets tough. If your inner dialogue is filled with blame, shame, or criticism, you'll struggle to recover even from small obstacles. But if your self-talk is rooted in encouragement, patience, and resilience, you'll keep moving forward, even when the path is unclear. The voice inside your head becomes your coach or your critic. And whichever one you feed the most becomes the dominant force behind your action. When life doesn't go as planned, and it often won't, your first instinct might be to blame yourself or start doubting everything. That's natural, but that's also where self-talk matters most. In those moments, your words become your rescue. You don't need empty positivity, you need truth. You need to remind yourself of what you've already overcome, of how far you've come, and of the fact that failure is not final. That inner voice has the power to either extend your failure or transform it into fuel. It can either magnify the problem or reveal the opportunity in the pain. Self-talk gives you a chance to reset your focus, take back control, and choose how you respond instead of being controlled by emotion. If you tell yourself you're done, you'll stop. But if you tell yourself this is temporary and I'll learn from it, you activate the part of you that refuses to quit. Opportunities to are deeply influenced by self-talk. Sometimes doors open, and instead of walking through them, people hold back because of what they're saying to themselves. I'm not ready. I'm not good enough. I don't belong here. These thoughts don't come from the opportunity itself. They come from within. The door could be wide open, but if your inner voice convinces you that you're not worthy to enter, you'll stay stuck in the same place. On the other hand, if your self-talk affirms your preparation, your growth, and your ability to figure things out, you'll step into challenges that grow you. You'll take more risks. You'll raise your hand when everyone else stays quiet, and that's where growth happens, not just in what you do, but in what you say to yourself before you do it. The bravest people are often not the loudest in the room. They're the ones who know how to silence their own doubts long enough to move forward. In the middle of pressure, your self-talk can become your anchor. When the world feels overwhelming, when people misunderstand you, when plans fall apart, what do you say to yourself? That's the real test. Do you speak panic or peace? Do you criticize or coach yourself through it? Developing strong self-talk isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about learning to lead yourself in every season. It's about becoming someone who can encourage yourself even when no one else is around. You don't need an audience to stay motivated. You need the right voice inside your own head. That's why it's so important to train that voice daily. You can't wait for the hard moments to decide how to speak to yourself. You have to build the habit of strong, clear, empowering self-talk before the pressure comes. The way you speak to yourself in the small, quiet moments sets the tone for how you'll respond in the big, loud ones. Your self-talk doesn't have to be perfect, but it should always lead you toward growth, not guilt. It should push you forward, not hold you hostage to fear or regret. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes, and soon you'll notice that even in the middle of adversity, your first response is no longer panic, but perspective. No longer doubt, but determination. Morning declarations must be rooted in truth, gratitude, and personal power. When you wake up, the first thoughts that run through your mind are not random. They are often shaped by yesterday's emotions, stress, or even fears about what lies ahead. That's why intentionally speaking powerful words grounded in truth is so critical. You don't need to wait until you feel good to speak good things. You speak good things because you know the truth about who you are and what you're capable of. This isn't about reciting things just to sound positive. It's about aligning your words with the deepest truths that you've earned through your experiences, your lessons, your struggles, and your growth. You've survived too much to wake up and speak like a victim. You've overcome too many setbacks to wake up and talk like you're powerless. That's why your morning words must reflect not just who you hope to be, but who you already are at your core. Rooting your declarations in truth means you don't deny reality, but you also don't let it limit you. You don't say everything's fine when you're in pain, but you do say, I will make it through this, because you've made it through worse. You speak truth by acknowledging both your challenges and your strength. You say, I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm not where I used to be. You say, I've got what I need to figure this out. Those words, repeated daily, begin to shape your confidence, not because life is easy, but because you're anchored in something stronger than your feelings. When your declarations are grounded in truth, they don't need to be long or loud. They just need to be honest and consistent. Gratitude is the next foundation. Before you ask for anything, you need to recognize what you already have. Gratitude shifts your focus from lack to abundance. It reminds you that even on the hardest days, there's something to be thankful for. You woke up with breath in your lungs, which means you've got another chance to grow, to give, to try again. Gratitude isn't about ignoring your problems. It's about refusing to let them be the only thing you see. When you start your day with thanks, you begin to notice the blessings that others miss. You appreciate your journey more, even if it's messy. You stop comparing your life to someone else's and start valuing your own. You don't need a perfect situation to feel grateful. Gratitude is a mindset, not a measurement. It's about choosing to see what's right, even when everything's not perfect. Personal power is the third pillar. Your morning declarations should remind you that you are not helpless, that you have choices, strength, and influence over how your day goes. Too many people start their day feeling defeated before they've even faced a challenge. But when you speak with authority over your life, you shift from being reactive to being intentional. You say, I'm in control of my attitude today. You say, I will focus on what I can change. You say, I won't let fear stop me. That's power. It's not about pretending to be invincible. It's about reclaiming your ability to rise, to lead yourself, to take the first step, even when the road is uncertain. Your words are your tools. And in the morning, those tools either build you or break you. Choose them with clarity. Choose them with faith. Choose them with the mindset of someone who knows that personal power isn't given, it's chosen. Every single morning, by how you speak to yourself, what you affirm, and what you expect from your day. The right declaration at the right time can shift your whole perspective and unlock strength you didn't know was there, because it calls out the greatness that's been waiting inside you all along.